Hi, welcome to Box on the Box, Rock and Celluloid, Bok for short. So today I'm going to do another Masters of Cinema, and today it's David Fincher. So David Fincher was born in 1962. His early interest in film was stimulated by use of an 8mm camera when he was a kid, and one of his neighbours was George Lucas. So early job was working for Industrial Light and Magic, where he did matte photography, and I'm just looking an assistant cameraman. Then after that he directed a commercial for the American Cancer Society with a fetus smoking a cigarette, and that drew his attention to Hollywood, and he did a documentary for Rick Springfield, like a live on the road thing I think. And then he formed propaganda films with a group of other directors, and this is like a who's who of future Hollywood: Spike Jonze, Michael Condrey, Michael Bay, Dominic Sena, to name but a few. Guys who've gone to make films. Perhaps some of his most famous videos, he did 3 for Madonna. I would say Vogue is probably the most well-known one. He copies like the line design 1930s films, particularly Erich von Sternberg and Marlene Dietrich films. And Jenny's Got a Gun with Aerosmith, and he shows his ability with that video to sort of construct a narrative. So his first film he does, first job he gets is Alien 3, so he's probably, bought into this about the age of 29, maybe going on 30, probably 29, so pretty young to take a massive job on. I'm just flicking forwards here so I can see his filmography in order properly, just so I don't make a mistake. But so basically a New Zealand director called Vincent Ward had initially been attached to Alien 3. He did a film called The Navigator, black and white films. I can't think where it's on TV. And then he did a film, it escapes me, he's got a map of the human heart. Maybe he did that after he was supposed to do Alien 3, I'm not sure. Anyway, but Ward's script had an idea of like a planet made of wood with monks on it and no weapons. Sort of fascinating idea. It's one of the great kind of unmade scripts of Hollywood. I don't know what happened to Vincent Ward. He just disappeared. So Fincher came in. I don't think the studio liked the sort of script. I'm not sure who reworked it. Walter Hill and a guy called David Gieler, I think, produced the Alien films. So there's a bit of conflict there. So the idea of the prison planet was kept. And the idea of not having access to weapons, and it was sort of taken from there. So this is a controversial film. I still remember when this came out. It was a 6-year gap from Aliens. If you think about that, it's quite normal. Alien was 79, Aliens was 86. So Alien and Aliens were two of the, when I was a kid, a teenager, those were the two of the best films you could see. I still think the whole of Aliens a classic. And Aliens does a really smart move. It goes, right, let's make a completely different film to Alien. And obviously, it started the careers of two of the greatest filmmakers. That's both their second films. I think that's third film for Cameron, but I think that's the second proper film really, because people don't really remember Piranha. But I think that's important. Like, this is David Fincher's debut. He's coming into a difficult situation. So I remember at the pictures, I enjoyed a lot of aspects of this film. It's got a stunning opening, and it had a cool look. I think the effects work lets it down. But it has got an interesting atmosphere. It is flawed. My mate once said it's Alien with the cast of EastEnders because all got Cockney accents. Recently I got a sort of, not a director's cut because he never officially endorsed it, Fincher, but a different cut on DVD. I think they might have called it a director's cut. And it had the alien coming out of a cow, I think, and some other sequences, maybe some extra sequences with Paul McGann's character. It's a longer cut, but it was better. The narrative hung together more. There might have been more of Charles Dance. I can't remember now. But it's a shame. So with this film, maybe it's something, maybe Fincher could go back to it, do a cut that it represents him more, and maybe get the effects work redone with the CGI, replaced on the crap CGI on the Alien. But he pretty much disowned it. But I do think, like I say, Elliot Gyllenhaal's score's good. I think the climax is powerful. Sigourney Weaver's really good. Charles Dance. I do think there's a lot of positives with this. It's his attempt to make something dark and brooding. He's attempted to do something different to the other two filmmakers. Although in terms of atmosphere, it probably, or tension, I suppose he's trying to sort of go more for Ridley Scott. Cameron had kind of gone up to 10, as it were, with the war film Vietnam element. But I think it's just a difficult one with what to do with this. But I do think it was always a 6 or a 7 out of 10 for me. That mark remains. I think that the sort of improved cut or with extra bits in maybe gives it a 7. And it does finish quite powerfully, and it does make a good trilogy with, not a good trilogy, but it does, hang on the end of the first 2 Alien films, not as bad as people think. At the end, after that, obviously they made another Alien film, and that wasn't good. I just say one other thing about this film. I think when I went to see the pictures, there was touches where you could see the guy had something, but it was the autopsy scene on Newt was shot, the way the tool cuts in and the blood runs down the sink. I thought, this guy's got a real eye here. Okay, so basically his next film was 7, and this is like a huge hit. Just watched this again recently, and it still looks amazing. I think what's strange about it is at the time, people forget how radical the look of 7 was, with its desaturated colour palette and dark photography. Looking at it now, it looks like a lot of things. You could put on a TV programme, you could see a film, The Hunger Games or something like that, and it would not look dissimilar in places to a film like 7, but at the time 7 had an incredible look, an amazing credit sequence as well. I think looking at it now and as watching it, the credit, none of this is quite as awesome as it was back then. The credit sequence, the choice of music's maybe not as top. I think one thing that lets it down is Brad Pitt's character, the way it's written, and his performance. Brad Pitt's in his phase here where he's doing loads of COD sort of method type things. He's playing with his hair. I think Fincher's visual skill and his precision overrides the problems of the script. The guy who did the script for this, he went on to do 8mm, but he never really did much else. And Morgan Freeman and Fincher combined override the issues of this. It's still got there's a stunning chase sequence in this when they discover John Doe's hideout, and that still looks really good. And the murder scenes, really, he's like the grotesque performance art, particularly the first one with all the spaghetti sauce cans that recalls Andy Warhol. It's like some grotesque pop art installation. So that's an interesting fact of this, but I think the performance of Pitt, he's just too, his opposition to Freeman, it's just really kind of jarring to me too much. And I've forgotten, it has that weird voiceover bit at the end with Morgan Freeman. I just don't understand that. He's done no voiceover all the way through, and he does a bit of voiceover at the end, whereas it'd just been much better just finishing on the "I'll be around," when his partner says that. I should just say the climax, the way that's shot with a helicopter over, all the pylons. I mean, visually, it's a superbly shot and designed film. I think Darius Konji, can't pronounce his second name, apologies, was the great, did a fantastic job with Fincher. So this puts him on the map. I mean, the gross of this film, I'm just going to have a look, it's $330 million thereabouts. So if you released it now, it grossed $700 million, Okay, so his next film's like The Game. This is kind of like a paranoid conspiracy thriller. Again, I watched this recently. It is, it's very far-fetched. It was a minor success at the time. But it has, continues what I call the Fincher look. It's got dark cinematography, great use of dark reflected surfaces, good casting. I think, Fincher is good with actors, and this shows this. And he starts to develop his visual style, and one of the things that Fincher does, he has his camera moving subtly, almost constantly sometimes, so he won't just lock it down and have two characters talking. If a character's moving across a room slightly, he will track them, and I think that's why he does a lot of takes, because people need to move precisely through the frame. Should just mention that he does do a lot of takes, which we'll come to. Kind of makes Kubrick look, conservative. But so I enjoy this film. It's got really good atmosphere, and it's got a good score by Howard Shore. But it's high concept again. I think I would describe this period as Fincher's flashy period. His next film, Fight Club, is really funny. Not a big hit at the time, but it's become a cult classic. I think this is where Brad Pitt's you know, Brad Pitt starts to be kind of more the actor we see now, because I really enjoy Brad Pitt's performances now, but I think this is the start of it. He starts to get loosen the shackles of being a pin-up and pouting. He just briefly bring that back in Troy, but it's the costume design and Brad Pitt's superb in this. Ed Norton's great. Again, it is a flashy, high concept thing. For those who haven't seen it, presumably if you're watching this, you've seen it. You know that Brad Pitt and Ed Norton are the same character basically. And throughout this, Fincher makes great uses of flash frames that you don't notice on the first watch. That flash up the Brad Pitt character when Ed Norton's talking or in a situation. Very good performance by Helena Bonham Carter in this. And again, shows his skills of actors. Again, it's got flashy CGI shots with this, where camera goes down into bombs and stuff like that, and through buildings, down to the foundations of the building. But it is a key kind of zeitgeist film at the end of the night. And it really taps into something that's not attractive in the male psyche that we haven't got rid of, is what you'd call toxic masculinity. Obviously online you get males particularly trolling female politicians, stuff like that. I think Fight Club is an area where you can see, it's that idea that the male's been taken out of his hunter-gatherer role. Back around this time you have magazines like FHM, Nuts, which continued, and for men, forgetting the name of the other one, that continued into the early noughties. There's still that there's still that going on. There still is now, and we still haven't resolved men's sort of issues of their angst and so on. And Fight Club makes that explicit by basically having to beat the crap out of each other, because you've got to get rid of all their aggression and make sense of themselves as men. I guess that's how I see it. So this film's not a hit, but it's well received. It's become a kind of cult classic. And a lot of see it as one of his early masterpieces. I'd probably say out of his first 4 films, this is the best one. A while ago I would have said 7, but I've changed my mind. So his next film is Panic Room. This is a thriller with Jodie Foster. I think he's done this maybe because he kind of needs a hit at this point. This grosses nearly $200 million on a $50 million budget. So it makes a profit, and it's first film saw Kristen Stewart in, her of Twilight fame. So this is kind of flashy film. It's a kind of Hitchcockian conceit, and that's why I think he's done it. You've got those Hitchcock films like Rope, where he sets himself a technical challenge of filming in long takes in one room. This is a big set of like a big sort of brownstone type of house. Guessing it's in Brooklyn or somewhere in New York. So again, it's got flashy CGI shots where the camera will pass through objects in the kitchen, it will pass through vent shafts, it will pass down all the way through the house. I'm guessing they built a set, or maybe they did use a real house. Jodie Foster's good. Forrest Whitaker. It's pretty. It's tense. It's maybe a little too long. This is kind of an hour and 55 minutes. I think that's one of the things with Fincher's films. Sometimes they would benefit from a bit of trimming. I think this one would. It's a 6 out of 10. Just going back through the films quickly, I was kind of 6, 7 out of 10 for Alien 3, 8 out of 10 for 7, 7 out of 10 for The Game, Fight Club, 8 out of 10. This will give a 6. Okay, so like he's rattled off a film every 2 years up to this point. 3-year gap in the last one. And then there's a big gap, and this is where I think his filmmaking changes. I think he changes. He researches his next film really detailed. Then his number of takes starts to go up. On this film, he's regularly doing 50 to 70 takes. Really putting his actors through the ringer. Fincher's renowned for his precision. He researches. He's got this kind of smartest guy in the room reputation. Although he's not seen as a tyrant, I think he's well liked. So Zodiac is about the unsolved Zodiac serial killer murders in the late 60s and all into the early 70s in San Francisco. Interesting look to this film. It uses some kind of digital post-production on the cinematography. Again, showing a lot of innovation because it's kind of got this washed out look on the yellows and the pinks. And you see this all the time on TV shows. I think this show as well, Fincher has a TV show called Mindhunters. And he, the look of Zodiac you can see in the earlier episodes of Mindhunters. So Finch often uses kind of filters on lighting, like uses a lot of greens and yellows he likes, and those you can see particularly on this film. And moving on from here, This is a really good film. I've seen this quite a few times. It's the kind of film that rewards you watching. The only problem is it is a bit long again, and it kind of it doesn't resolve itself, which is pretty cool. It's very 70s in that way, because they never really find who the Zodiac killer is. They have like a suspect, but they just can't prove it. It's kind of split into kind of three sections really. You have like the initial journalist investigation tied with the police and the police investigation, and in the end Jake Gyllenhaal's cartoonist for the San Francisco Chronicle kind of takes over the case as an amateur detective. There's a really tense scene when he goes to visit a guy about some old films. It's really good. What with this, like, Fincher completely sort of forsakes any kind of flashes. One shot where there's a great overhead shot following a taxi cab, and he does a great turn around the corner, and that kind of draws attention to itself. But other than that, he's really concentrating on atmosphere, composition, and bringing the era. So this is really good. Then his next film, he does straight off the bat again. I think he's kind of needs a hit. He teams up with Brad Pitt. This is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and it grosses $335 million. Big budget, 150 to 170 million. So, this film probably broke even, but he gets a lot of Oscar nominations, and he gets his first Oscar nomination for Best Director. Strange film, this. I mean, it's kind of different from his other things. But I like it. It's like a fable. It's a life in reverse, really, I guess. But it shows his skills with the effects. The visual effects with this is a great technical challenge and really well done. Again, it's a bit too long. How long is it? 166 minutes. It's proper epic. But, I really enjoyed it at the pictures. Less on second viewing, but it's kind of an anomaly. I think it's got about 13 nominations, actually. Yeah, 13 Oscar nominations. It is a technical tour de force. Brad Pitt's very good. He got an Oscar nomination. Not a lot. Some people don't like this, but I like it. It's a good film, and it shows his skills. With actors and so forth. This guy can do everything. He's directed. Moving into this point, his actors in his films will start to get Oscar nominations. Obviously, we've had Brad Pitt. His next film, The Social Network, will get a nomination for Best Director for Jesse Eisenberg. This is a hit film, $40 million budget, 220 gross. He gets another Oscar nomination as Best Director. I think this might be his most well-rounded film in terms of the length. 120 minutes is 2 hours long. It justifies that length. Doesn't need to be any longer. It's really, it's got his usual kind of shooting style with his filters that he likes. This brings Rooney Mara to the fore in the opening scene, and she's great. Jesse Eisenberg's great. Arnie Hamer, he's very good. He plays twins. They use CGI to do that. It's seamless, and his performance is really good. And there's a scene in this where they have like a rowing sequence, and it's brilliantly shot. It just shows Fincher's technical skill. He uses slow-mo, which is a technique he doesn't use that often, but when he does, he notices it. Gets a lot of it was named one of the best films of the year by 78 critics, and it got 8 Academy Award nominations. I think this is a real triumph for him. This is a film everyone critically agrees on. He gets the Oscar nominations and some acting nominations. He probably should have won the Best Director for this. I think it won Best Screenplay for Aaron Sorkin, quite rightly so. That's one of the things. Aaron Sorkin's stuff's very verbose, and Fincher relishes that. It works great. After this, he does an adaptation of The Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. Again, watched this, liked it more at the time, watched it recently. It's quite popular. $232 million gross on a $90 million budget. Really good performance from Rooney Mara in this, in the Elizabeth Sander role. And Fincher brings, I'll describe this as quite a green film, in terms green and yellow. It's well shot. It's just really it is a straight remake of the Swedish TV show that was turned into a film. The first one, he just brings more visual razzle dazzle to it. There's a really awful rape scene. It's good. I don't like the credit sequence. He kind of does a weird kind of James Bond sort of credit sequence, which I don't think works. I liked it more at the pictures, but I give it a 6 out of 10. It's a good film. I think maybe, maybe he's doing this, he just fancied it, a bit of commercial hit. So yeah, he's popped up another film. And then his next film is, I think this is one of his very best films. I think this brings a genuinely entertaining film that, people can go and see on a Saturday night at the cinema with really good artistic credentials. It's Gone Girl. This is his biggest grossing film, I think, $370 million. Obviously, some are more with inflation. So it's a big hit, really good casting, Ben Affleck's good, and then superb Rosamund Pike getting Oscar nomination. I think this shows his skill casting. He's taken an actress that people wouldn't normally expect of a role like this, and she's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, this Rosamund Pike. Really good supporting cast, Neil Patrick Harris, Tyler Perry, Carrie Coon, Kim Dickens, they're all excellent. And he's really savvy with this. He teams up with the writer of the book, Gillian Flynn, and he identifies some things that need to change from the book, and Gillian Flynn goes along with it. She kind of recognises, actually this is going to work better cinematically. I think it's just smartness all round, and it's a smart film. It's the kind of film they're just not making now, because of Marvel, because of blockbusters. A mid-budget adult thriller. You won't find these at the cinema. I think this was the last one I can remember being made, and it was the first one for a long time, apart from A Girl on the Train. I remember the days where you get a film like A Basic Instinct or Disclosure, like a Michael Douglas thriller, Fatal Attraction, and people would pay to see those. But didn't get a few Oscar nominations again. But Fincher probably should have been nominated as Best Director. I think the commerciality of the project overlooked its artistic merit. This is the sort of thing Hitchcock would eat back in the day. Really well done, really entertaining. And sort of prior to that, he did his House of Cards TV show from 2013 to 2018. Obviously, this got kind of curtailed early because of the Kevin Spacey situation. But he directs the first two episodes, or certainly the first one. He establishes the Fincher look with this show early on. It's got a great great credit sequence. It's got top cinematic values and two great screen actors and performances in Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright. The first two series of this show are superb, flawless. Third series, very good, and then it kind of got a bit daft, as some shows do. But he's overseen one of the first top TV shows of the streaming. This is a show made Netflix, and it's still a really good show. It's still really worth checking out in spite of the Kevin Spacey, what happened. Then he went on to Mindhunter. Basically, with this, he was able to explore his serial killer obsession. First series of this show, again, is superb. It's one of the best modern shows. It looks brilliant. I think what's great about this is the casting. He cast two actors who aren't known and they inhabit the characters. It's really good, period details, good. Uses his yellows and green type of filters. Second series wasn't quite as sharp the first, but it's still really good as a really good female. That's another thing. He's got great female characters in these, in both House of Cards and in this as a female kind of psychiatrist working on the team. She's really good. He's got another show, Love and Death and Robots, which I haven't watched. So that kind of sums it up. He is a great filmmaker. His next thing is Mank. This is going straight to Netflix. Again, he's taken 6 years over this, and it's about the writing and making of Citizen Kane, so I'm looking forward to that. I think he's getting better. He's getting more mature. So he's a filmmaker that ticks boxes. He's great with actors. He's sharp with scripts. He does great sort of atmosphere shots, but keeps an eye on the narrative. And he's got a good body of work. I think this Mank could be the film that nails a lot of Oscar nominations and may get him the Best Director finally. I'll put it out there. Whether this video comes out before the Oscars or after, I don't know. We'll see when I schedule it, because I often pre-record these. So I hope you enjoyed that. Cheers, thanks very much.